Here's a clean, structured, modular summary of your full transcription, written in a way that honors the narrative, keeps it accessible for civilians and survivors, and preserves the emotional arc without slipping into despair or melodrama. I've included 3 layers so you can choose what works for your real podcast or written piece. Okay, ultra short summary for captions or hooks. The survivor recounts a near-fatal 2006 car accident, the long rehabilitation that followed, the loss of identity, family fractures, his mother's illness and death, years of drinking and coping, and the eventual turning point where he rebuilt his life, stopped drinking and vaping, and learned how to communicate as a TBI survivor in a world that often can't follow the tangents of an injured brain. Okay, medium summary. The speaker describes being hit by a speeding car in 2006, sustaining a diffuse brain injury and multiple fractures. Early medical intervention and experimental treatment kept him alive, but he had to relearn basic skills like reading, writing, walking, and finding words. Returning home exposed deep family tensions and a painful loss of identity, from popular student and athlete to someone navigating inappropriate behaviors, social discomfort, and cognitive changes. His mother, already carrying decades of trauma and illness, became his primary caregiver until her death from cancer in 2016. Her loss triggered heavy drinking, isolation, and worsening symptoms, until a psychiatrist's blunt warning finally helped him stop. Later, during COVID, he struggled with smoking and vaping, but eventually quit through self-discipline and understanding his own brain. Over 20 years, he's learned how survivors communicate, why tangents happen, and how civilians often lose patience. He now focuses on telling stories in ways that honor both survivors and non-survivors, making the invisible work of thinking visible. Okay, full structured summary for long-fall rising or podcast prep. 1. The accident, 2006. Hit by a speeding car in Yonderbush, died at midnight. Sustained a diffuse axonal injury, shattered tibia, fibula, dislocated knee, broken collarbone, torn ear. Paramedics intubated him within minutes, crucial for preventing oxygen deprivation. Placed in an induced coma for 24 to 28 days, large amounts of brain fluid drained to prevent coma. Received experimental ketamine-based treatment, possibly helping preserve cognitive function. Early recovery. Woke with intact long-term memory. Example, reciting his mother's phone number instantly. Had to relearn reading, writing, walking, and manage dysnomia, word-finding difficulty. Outpatient rehab at Oakland Park. Learned strategies to buy time when searching for words. 3. Identity loss and social reintegration. Before the accident, popular UCT student, head of residence, athletic, socially confident. After the accident, on crutches, socially awkward, loud or inappropriate laughter, unusual behaviors. Friends became uncomfortable. He struggles to recognize his new self. Had to consciously retrain social behaviors and accept a changed identity. 4. Family dynamics. Pre-existing rift. Father died in 1989 in a motor accident. Sister excelled academically that clashed with her mother over her boyfriend, later husband. After the accident, mother became sole caregiver and emotionally dependent on him. Sister withdrew. Mother feared losing her only remaining emotional anchor. Mother has a long history of cancer, non-Hodgkin's, esophageal, then brain cancer. Mother's illness death, 2016. Her death shattered his remaining support structure. He drank heavily to cope with grief and identity confusion. Felt directionless and overwhelmed. Drinking escalated into physical symptoms like twitching. Sex, turning point. Psychiatrist Norton Blunt that you should not be drinking on medication. That clarity triggered on median sobriety in 2019. Later quit vaping during COVID using its self-imposed 21-day discipline cycle. 7. Work and adaptation. Worked as a draftsman at Nedbank. High stress, constant interruptions. Developed his own checklists and systems to manage cognitive load. Learned to use his disability as a framework for structure rather than a limitation. Communication as a survivor. Survivors often talk non-stop once they regain speech. Release valve or to silence. Tangents happen because thoughts chain visually and associatively. Orange, fruit, story. Civilians often lose patience because they're not used to watching someone think out loud. He now aims to communicate in ways that honor both survivors and non-survivors, making stories accessible without hiding the reality of TBI cognition.